Chris Rock, welcome to 1+1 and welcome to Australia.
Thank you. It's great being at 1+1. It's great being in Australia.
I want to take you back to your early life so we can learn a little bit more about your upbringing. You were born in South Carolina.
I was born in a Georgetown Hospital, yes, in South Carolina, 1965.
Your grandfather, Alan Rock, I understand he drove a cab, but he was also a preacher on the weekends.
Yes.
What kind of influence did he have on you in terms of your life and your career?
My grandfather's probably the first person in show business that I ever met. Just because the preacher does a show every week. You know what I mean? He works on it. I would, sometimes he'd pick me up from school, and especially if my mother was working, he would have me until she got home from work. So I would just be in a cab, doing my homework or whatever, in a cab. And my grandfather would work on his sermon all week. And not that different than the way I work on my act. He didn't really write down the sermon. He wrote down the bullet points, and I'd see him write it down and kind of read the stuff back to himself. And then he'd have this sermon, which is essentially an act, every week.
When did you realize that it was an act? Did you see that as a kid?
I don't know if I saw it as a kid, but as I got older, I listen to more preachers now than I do comedians. Because it's not that much different than a stand-up act. You know what I mean? It's just the stand-up's going for a laugh every 15 seconds or whatever, and the preacher's kind of going for applause every 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. They're going for applause or praise the Lord or whatever. But there's still a narrative that goes through it. The preacher's actually better than the stand-up because the preacher always stays to theme a little bit better than the stand-up, where stand-ups kind of wander all over the place. But you're standing in front of an audience and you're moving the same way. You're doing the same exact thing. It's just you want different results.
So your family, after a time, moved to New York.
Yeah, right away. They didn't even live in South Carolina. My mother just wanted to have her first child. She wanted her mother around.
So you were the firstborn, is that right?
I'm Rose Rock's first child, yes.
And you have, is it 6 or 7 brothers and sisters?
I got brothers and sisters, yeah.
And so, is it right that you moved to the projects, a sort of quite poor part of New York when you first got there?
We lived near the projects. Poor is just so relative to me. I mean, we always had food, and we always, 2 parents and love, and, I guess it's poor and rich. If you look at it from the outside, I guess it's poor. And then we moved to Bed-Stuy.
Which you've described as a ghetto.
Yeah, Bed-Stuy's a ghetto. It's not now. Now it's Hipsterville. But at the time, it definitely was, the premier ghetto in America. You got Compton, Watts, Cabrini Green, Bed-Stuy. These would be like the 4 worst neighborhoods in America.
What fascinates me, having recently visited New York, is you see these big, tall, brown buildings, and they make an appearance in Top 5.
Yeah.
And there's this definite kind of relaxation. Andre relaxes, in a sense, when he goes to see his family there. And they have some really important lines about life. Don't forget where you came from. I can't get this out of my head. And I wonder whether you ever think about that in terms of where you came from?
A little bit. It's not like this thing that follows me. It's not like this thing that haunts me. Yeah, I know exactly where I came from. I'm Julius and Rose's kid. No matter where you grew up, the odds of you becoming a comedian that's known around the world is pretty freaking slim. Whether you grew up in Bed-Stuy or grew up in Beverly Hills. Maybe a little less in Beverly Hills, but but most places it's pretty slim. And yes, and I do live. I'm very aware that I live a life my father probably wouldn't even dream of. And on the other hand, even if I drove if I worked for the post office, I would be living a life my father wouldn't dream of. So.
Did your parents? Did they get to see the success that you achieved?
My mother's still alive. My mother's fine. My mother I just got my mother an apartment. My mother just turned 70. Just moved her into Brooklyn. Got her, got an Audi. Audi station wagon for her birthday. My mom's cool. My father never really saw what I became. He never really saw it. He met Eddie Murphy, actually. That was like kind of cool for him. But my father's like Richard Pryor, man. So that wasn't even. It was like half a big deal. Oh, that's your friend? Yeah, I guess he's funny. It's like wasn't really a big deal meeting Eddie Murphy. But my father never saw any of this stuff.
So he passed away.
My dad died in '88 he had an ulcer explode. So if you have an ulcer, get it checked out. And it triggered a bunch of other stuff. He had high blood pressure. He had diabetes. He was just old. He was just poor and working since he was like 12, and and didn't have a good diet, and his body just gave out.
Do you regret that he didn't get to see you succeed?
Oh, I mean, I think about it probably every day. But also, sometimes tragedy can be the best thing. Would I feel the need to have the drive I do if he was alive?
Right.
Because, he was my safety blanket. And, without the safety blanket, it's like, okay, a part of me is just constantly trying to create that again, trying to create security. That's like trying to make money and trying to, writing movies all the time. And, I'm like always...
You're not resting on your laurels.
Yeah, I'm not resting. For a guy that's been doing this a long time, I'm not really resting. And part of that is just trying to recreate the security I had as a child. And that's never going to happen. But I can do it for my kids. I'm never going to be secure again. But my kids can.
Before I leave your early life, I also heard that you went to a school that was out of your initial neighborhood.
Yeah, I was bused to school. It was pretty, it's whatever, man. People, were mean, and they called you nigger and whatever, and spit on you and threw BCs and piss and whatever at you, and, it is what it is. There's nothing I could do about it. It made me stronger. I'm not here without it. You can't faze me with meanness because of it. So, that was my grade school experience. Grade school, high school, junior high school.
So where did the comedy part come in? Because you left high school to start the comedy career, didn't you? Was comedy like a way of getting back at the bullies, or where did it come from?
I'd always liked comedy. I was always interested in comedians, even when I was a kid when I was 7 years old. I thought Bill Cosby was unbelievable, and I thought, Richard Pryor and Don Rick, all these guys, I would watch the Dean Martin roast and all of that stuff, Abbott and Costello. At every point in my life, there's no point where I wasn't obsessed with comedy. And I'm still obsessed to this day, So, it was just a natural thing for me to do. I don't know, I didn't quit school to become a comedian. I quit school to actually just work a job just because I was bored with school. And I was in a pretty bad school anyway, so I figured I got my equivalency diploma, which I figured was as good as a diploma from a bad school.
You've also said that you've been in a police lineup, I think 3 times.
Yeah.
What kind of age were you?
Let's see. It would have to be, from the point I was hanging outside, but my mother would let me walk down the block or whatever. So, you're talking 14, 15, probably, it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened since I was probably 21 or whatever. So, 3, 5 times, I forget, you're just minding your business, and next thing you know, you're wrapped up, some cops come and tell you and your friends to get in a car, and some woman's crying and looking through a glass, and you're like, you're hoping not to get picked.
So the issues that you talk about in your acts, in your films, deeply relate to some of those issues about why young black kids, for example, tend to get arrested, or the stuff that happened in Ferguson. Is this still passionate to your work, all those messages that you're talking about?
I'm concerned, don't get me wrong. But my work's about a bunch of stuff. I'm a comedian. I'm supposed to make people laugh. That's my gig. Anytime I don't do that, I'm not doing my job.
A lot of younger kids would know you as Marty, the voice from Madagascar.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Was that about trying to find a new demographic?
Nah, you know what? That's just luck. Sometimes you're just lucky. Jeffrey Katzenberg, there was a couple of other animated things he wanted me to do, and I said no. And I don't even know why I said yes to Marty. I might have been Ben Stiller or something. But it might have had something to do with Eddie doing Shrek. When we started Madagascar, none of us had kids. So we were just doing it kind of for the money. And then now you got kids, and kids are like, when's Madagascar coming out? And or you take them, I would take my kids, take Lola and Zara to recording sessions. And they would actually they're bored for the most part. But if you come up with one funny thing that ends up in the movie, they remember it. It's like, I was there when you said crack-a-lackin'. I was there when you did the Afro Circus song. So they're like, they feel a part of it. And now they're older, so they can invite their friends to the premiere and all. It's like, I love Madagascar. When I was a kid, I used to love Goofy. It's like I love Goofy.
I was scared of Goofy.
I used to love Goofy. I love all the Disney characters. Everybody loves the Disney characters, but Goofy was my favorite. Now I'm a grown man, and I am Goofy.
Throughout this interview, you've mentioned Eddie Murphy quite a bit. Would you say, is he perhaps one of your key influences, your key mentors?
He's kind of my key influence in the sense, he's not that much older than me. It's weird. He's has such a body of work. You would think he's 20 years older than me, just if you just looked at our resumes. But the guy's only 4 years older than me. From Brooklyn. Black guy from Brooklyn, New York. Stand-up comedian, Saturday Night Live. Yeah, everybody needs to see a version of themselves do something. It's just good. It makes you feel like you can do it. And Eddie Murphy was the first version of myself that I saw succeeding at comedy. The other people, a guy like Cosby or Red Fox, those guys, they were just grown men. Eddie Murphy's kind of like the first teenage comedian that the world's ever had. Forget America, most comedians you see, young comedians, are in their 30s. It's not there's no Justin Bieber of comedy. It's just not this thing that you master at a young age. And Murphy was the first and the last to do it.
So when you say that people need to see a version of themselves, I wonder, who are those people for children of your daughter's age?
Who are those people? I guess...
are there role models for them too?
I guess, my kids like Beyonce, and they like, Alicia Keys, and, they watch all these Disney shows and the Zendayas, and, they actually have a lot. They have a lot more than I did growing up. They have a lot of actors and actresses, and, Oprah. They call Oprah Auntie Oprah. My spoiled kids. They love Beyonce. Boy.
My daughter said when I was going to meet you, she asked, were you going to do the Afro Circus song?
Afro. Did it. I wish Beyonce would make a song about doing homework. That just make my life easier. I love homework. If you like it, then you would do your homework. It was like, okay, please, just help me out, Beyonce. to sing a song about how great homework is.
When you first started to become famous, was Hollywood, was the world of celebrity welcoming to you?
Yeah. It's like, hey, when you first get into Hollywood, if you want to call it like it's this place. Yeah, I mean, I have no beef. I have no real show business beef. Yeah, do I want better scripts? Of course I want better scripts. Everybody does. Everybody not named Leo or Brad wants better scripts. You know what I mean? Denzel doesn't get Leo scripts. He doesn't. He's got some good stuff, but I'm sure he'd love to be in Inception. You know what I mean? So everybody's got beef, but the thing about Hollywood is just you just want to get in. You just get in. And once you get in, then, you're almost responsible for yourself. The hard thing is getting in. So once I've been in, I've had a ball. I can't, And I've gotten to do pretty much what I wanted to do. Pretty much. I've made a lot of movies. And, when I make a bad one, that's nobody's fault. That's me.
But you've often said that Top 5 is a kind of make or break movie because you've written it, you've directed it, as well as being in it. I mean, you could have chosen the predictable path, couldn't you? And just have taken your comedy and gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, but you haven't.
I could have done something more contrived. Yes, I could have done something where my partner is killed. I'm a cop and they kill my partner and I have to get revenge on the killers of my partner. I could have done that movie, which everybody does. And it probably would have been bigger than Top 5. Honestly. But it would have been better. Would have been better. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to do the best work I can. Work that I can be proud of later on. Work that, works on different levels. A good movie or a good stand-up is different every time you watch it.
Maybe because it was kind of a theme, I took away from it that journalists ask some really dumb and predictable questions at times. It was a bit of a mirror in that sense. But anyway,
I always say, Spade says this too, it's like being famous is like being a hot chick. And if you're a hot chick, guys just ask you the same stupid questions all the time. They hit on you the same way all the time.
I won't ask you about being the class clown, but what I will end on, the movie was called Top 5. I was going to be really mean and say, okay, so give me your top 5 furry, cute Australian animals that don't include kangaroos or koalas.
Wow.
So you can either do that one.
Roach.
Or you can give me your top 5 things you want to achieve in the future.
Oh my God, the top 5 things I want to achieve in the future, personally or creatively?
Both.
Both. Let's see. In the future, I want to, get 2 girls out of school, make sure they graduate college. I'd like to see that. That is like number 1, get 2 girls out of college. I'd like to write a play. I just imagine my mother getting the biggest kick out of that. I'd like to write a book, preferably a novel.
Oh.
Let's see. I got this weird fantasy of opening an ad agency. Just because whenever you watch commercials, they're all comedy anyway. 90% of them are comedy, so it just seems a natural thing that some comedian would have a very successful ad agency. What else did I want to do? I want to get back on stage and do some really good stand-up. That would be it.
Chris Rock, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for speaking with me on 1+1.
Oh, thanks for having me.
1+1 is available on iView. You can browse the archive or contact us through the website. Stay in touch and leave comments via Facebook. You can also follow me on Twitter. I look forward to your company next time. From me, goodbye.